Hello, welcome to Science Club. My name is Slavka and I work here at the Law Library. Now today's science experiments will focus on things that absorb water and also some things that repel water. So like for example our umbrella, it's not going to soak up the water, it's actually going to repel water. And something like paper, for example, like a paper towel, that's going to absorb water. So we're going to do a couple of different experiments that hopefully you might like to do at home as well. Now I only have just plain water, but I coloured it so that you could see it. Coloured this one red. And on this sheet, it's just cardboard. I've walked around my house and here at the library trying to find things that will be absorbing of water and some things that might repel water, so keep the things dry. So when you're doing your experiment, have a little bit of a think, like a hypothesis. So which of your materials will keep dry and which of your materials will absorb the water, and also think about why that happens and how we can use these different materials. So some materials such as some packaging, some plastic packaging, it's important that the packaging keeps things dry that are on the inside. But something like a paper towel or a dishcloth, it's important that it soaks it up so that we can wipe the surface or wipe our hands. So what you can do is do some of these experiments. You can do 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or just one thing, but have a bit of a look around your house and maybe even in the garden and things that will absorb and repel water. So let's do our first experiment. Let's start with this is foam packaging. Now the foam packaging that was around I think around a book that came in the post. So if we put some drops of water on there, coloured water, do you think it will absorb or will it stay on top of the packaging? That one stays on top of the packaging. So can you see that it hasn't absorbed? If I put some on the cardboard, that would eventually absorb, whereas in that I think will just stay there. Now this is packaging, but I know you can't feel it, but this one feels very smooth, like it has maybe a special coating on it. So I'll put some moisture. This was the same packaging but on the other side. So that's also keeping, it's not absorbing. What about our paper towel? That absorbed very, very quickly, didn't it? Which is very good to know. What about foil? Do you think foil will absorb moisture? Let's try a few drops. No, that's not going to absorb at all. What about our newsprint over here? If I put some newsprint, that will eventually. So you can try lots of different experiments. What about our pop stick? If I put some moisture on there, that will probably absorb. So you can try, let's try our dishcloth. That absorbed? Yeah. So what you can do is try your own experiment so we can see how the cardboard, even though it's nice and thick, eventually it will also become quite wet. But it's good to know that there's lots and lots of different things that we can experiment with, and you can see what will happen when we put water onto it. So you can see here how the pop stick is starting to colour, as well as the newsprint. It's taken a little bit of time, but the foil remains dry, and even this one is remaining dry. This one over here, if I moved that, there's some water under there, so that's not going to take long for that to become wet as well. So I hope you enjoyed our first experiment. Second experiment is going to be a little bit special, and you can see here we have some sugar in a container, or just in a plastic plate. Now there are 3 sugar towers, so 1, 2, 3, but in between some of those I put maybe, what have I got, some foil, a piece of foil is here, a dishcloth and a piece of newspaper, and I try to make sure that they're all on the same surface. So if we were, this experiment doesn't take long because the sugar absorbs very, very quickly. So if I pour the water in, watch what happens to the sugar. Can you see how the sugar is absorbing all of that liquid? But what do you notice with, so that first one is the one that has nothing in between it, so it's just pure sugar. Can you see how the water is rising through the first layer, then the second layer, and right up to the top? But the others, so the one with the newspaper, that's taking a little bit longer, and the one with the dishcloth, that's taking a little bit longer as well, and the one with the foil, that's going to take a little while longer. So this is a fantastic experiment to do with some sugar. As the sugar dissolves, and the tower will start to fall, so hopefully we'll see, which tower do you think will fall first? The one with all the sugar. That's that first one. Oh no, it was the one with the dishcloth. But can you see the one that's standing and it's still white? The one, I'll just turn it around. The white, and it topples over. The white one at the top was the one with the foil underneath. So as the moisture was rising and weeping through the sugar, the foil kept the top sugar cube dry until they all fell over. So that's a really fun experiment to do as well, and can be a little bit messy, but get a grown-up to toss the water. If you don't colour the water, it's not as messy, but I coloured my water. Now another experiment that you can try, this one takes a little bit longer, and you'll see it on our video because we took it as a time lapse, which means that the camera took one shot every couple of seconds. So I made a tower, whoops, the air conditioning is fluttering this by. I made a tower, and I'll show you how the water seeps up and up and up and up the paper towel. So we have paper towels, the tower made out of Lego. You can make your tower out of whatever you like. The whole idea is we'll put water under here, and then we'll watch the water go up. Thank you so much for joining us for Science Club this week. And if you would like to know a little bit more about hydrophobic repellent and surfaces, you might be interested in a short video on YouTube This is the address, but we'll put it into the links as well. And the person who presents this is Richard Hammond. You may have known or may have seen him on Top Gear. And he describes how hydrophobic surfaces in nature, so the butterfly wings are very, very special because they repel water, and if they didn't repel water, the butterfly couldn't fly, it would be too heavy. And they're also looking at different technologies to repel water and how that technology can be used in everyday life. So for example, if we had a tall building, we could put a hydrophobic coating on the windows, for example, and that will mean that when it rains, the water wouldn't stick to the window and neither would any dirt, so you wouldn't have to clean it. It will also be things like on solar panels. So here at the library, we have solar panels on our roof, but when there's a dust storm or there's dirt, then those solar panels, they get all grimy and dirty and the dirt sticks to them, so somebody has to go and clean them. Because if they don't clean them, then they wouldn't be as effective. But if you had a hydrophobic coating on it, it will mean that the solar panels will be clean all the time. So it will save energy, it will save money, and it will be much safer. So if you get a chance, please have a look at the video on YouTube. It's about 7 or 8 minutes long. It's not very long, but it's actually quite a nice video for children and grown-ups. So I hope you enjoy it. And thank you again for joining us for Science Club.